More gasps filled the cathedral as a woman stood up from the middle pews. She was about my age, with Edward's dark eyes and determined expression. Vivian had arranged everything, even ensuring Laura Lawson would be here for this moment. The second part of my will, I read, my voice growing stronger, leaves a 30% share of Harrington Industries to Laura Lawson as partial restitution for what was stolen from her father. The controlling interest goes to my niece Sophia, the only member of the Harrington family who has shown the same commitment to ethics and innovation that Edward and I once shared. I looked up at the stunned faces before me. The letter is signed, Vivian Harrington, co-founder of Harrington Industries and keeper of its greatest shame. The silence that followed was deafening. Then slowly, Laura Lawson began walking toward the front of the cathedral. She stopped in front of my father, who seemed to have aged decades in the past few minutes. "All these years," Laura said, her voice shaking slightly. "I thought my father was a failure who abandoned his work. I never knew, never imagined." "Ms. Lawson," I said, stepping down from the podium, "I'm so sorry for what was taken from you." She turned to me, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for having the courage to read that letter. Your aunt, she was watching over me my whole life, wasn't she?" "She was trying to make things right," I said softly, in her own way. The next few hours passed in a blur. The reception was unsurprisingly tense, with family members splitting into factions, those who demanded the letter be suppressed, those who insisted on going to the police, and those who simply sat in stunned silence. My father disappeared immediately after the service. I wouldn't hear from him for weeks, not until he checked himself into a rehabilitation facility, finally facing the guilt he carried for 45 years. In the months that followed, the truth about Harrington Industries' founding became public knowledge. But Vivian had been right. The company was strong enough to survive it. With Laura Lawson's technical expertise and my commitment to Vivian's vision, we began a new chapter in the company's history. 1 year after the funeral, I stood in Vivian's rose garden, now blooming more beautifully than ever. Laura had joined me for what had become our weekly meeting, where we discussed everything from company strategy to our shared love of sustainable innovation. "You know what's strange?" Laura said, gently touching one of Vivian's prized Queen Elizabeth roses. "I always felt like someone was looking out for me, guiding my career from afar. I used to think it was my father's spirit. Now I know it was Vivian. She tried to protect everyone," I said. "The company, its employees, you, even my father in her own way. She just couldn't let the truth die with her." Laura nodded thoughtfully. "Do you think she made the right choice waiting all those years?" I considered the question carefully. "I think she did the best she could with an impossible situation. She turned a company built on fraud into a force for good. She made sure you were taken care of. And in the end, she made sure the truth came out on her terms." "And what about you?" Laura asked. "Do you ever regret being the one who had to reveal it all?" I looked out over the rose garden, remembering Vivian's knowing smile, her cryptic comments, and her quiet strength. "No," I said finally. "Vivian chose me because she knew I could handle it. She knew I'd understand that sometimes doing the right thing means facing uncomfortable truths." "She would be proud of what we've built," Laura said, gesturing toward the Harrington Industries building visible in the distance. "A real partnership, just like she and my father intended." I smiled, touching one of the roses Vivian had given me, now blooming in her garden. She once told me these roses had been in her family for generations, just like secrets. But maybe it's time for new traditions. Truth instead of secrets. Partnership instead of power. Building something together instead of taking from each other. Laura squeezed my hand. "I think both our fathers would like that." That evening, as I sat in Vivian's study, now my study, going over company reports, I found a small note tucked into her old desk calendar. It was dated the day she died, written in her elegant hand. "Dearest Sophia, if you're reading this, you've done what I asked. You've faced the truth and handled it with grace. That's why I chose you. Not just to inherit the company, but to make it better than it was, to make it what Edward and I dreamed it could be. The roses in the garden will bloom again next spring. When they do, Remember that beauty can grow from even the darkest soil if we have the courage to plant it. All my love, Vivian. I placed the note carefully in my drawer and looked out at the garden, where the setting sun painted the roses in shades of gold. Vivian had left me more than just a company. She'd left me a chance to right an old wrong, to build something meaningful, to prove that it's never too late for truth to bloom. Tomorrow, there would be meetings and decisions and all the responsibilities that came with running a multi-million-dollar company. But for now, I sat in the quiet of Vivian's study, surrounded by the scent of roses, knowing that sometimes the heaviest inheritances aren't measured in money, but in the weight of the truths we choose to carry. And like Vivian, I would carry this truth with grace, using it not to destroy, but to build, not to punish, but to heal, creating something beautiful from the soil of the past. After all, that's what Vivian had done. That's what she had trained me to do. And somewhere I knew she was watching with that knowing smile of hers, proud that her final secret had finally found its way into the light. If you were in Sophia's position and had to reveal a devastating family secret to claim your inheritance, would you do it? Let me know your answer in the comment box below. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The invitation came through our family group chat. My mother's perfectly worded message, dripping with concerned disappointment. Emergency family meeting. Thursday 7 p.m. Victoria needs our help with her situation. My situation. That's what they've been calling my decision to quit my prestigious consulting job and start my own company. 2 years of subtle jabs, worried phone calls, and not-so-subtle hints about real jobs with actual benefits. I sat in my car outside my parents' colonial-style house, the same one I'd grown up in, where success was measured in Ivy League degrees and corporate titles. My sister Olivia's Range Rover sat in the circular driveway next to Dad's Mercedes and Mom's BMW. My Toyota Corolla looked decidedly out of place. Exactly how they saw me these days. My phone buzzed. Another message from Ethan, my CFO. The Forbes article goes live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You ready for this? I texted back. Perfect timing. Family intervention starts at 7. His response was immediate. Savage. Want me to send a car to rescue you? No need. Some things are worth waiting for. I checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. No designer clothes tonight. Just a simple black blazer over a white shirt. Minimal makeup. Hair pulled back neatly. Let them think I couldn't afford better. It made the coming revelation sweeter. The door opened before I could knock. Mom stood there in her Chanel suit. Perfect makeup, not quite hiding her frown lines. Victoria, darling, you're late. By 2 minutes, Mom. Details matter in business, dear. She ushered me inside. Something you might want to consider. The living room was set up like a corporate intervention. Dad in his power position by the fireplace. Olivia and her husband, Lucas, on the leather sofa. Mom's sister, Aunt Margaret, in the wingback chair. They even called, in reinforcements, ally, Olivia air-kissed my cheek. Love the blazer. H&M? Thrift store? Actually, I watched her try to hide her horror. Sustainable fashion. Very on trend. Dad cleared his throat. Let's get started. We're here because we're worried about you, Victoria. About my situation. I took the least comfortable chair, deliberately facing them all. About your choices? Mom corrected. 2 years ago, you had everything. Junior partner track at McKinsey. That lovely penthouse apartment. Thomas. Yes, Thomas. The investment banker had practically planned my wedding before I called it off to start my company. And now, Dad gestured vaguely. Living in that tiny apartment, driving that old car, working on some, what do you call it? Tech startup. Lucas supplied helpfully. Though startup implies growth potential, he smiled. All teeth and MBA confidence. I took a look at your sector. The market's saturated. No room for new players without serious capital backing. I bit back a smile. Lucas, who tried to get his own startup funded 3 times before falling back on his trust fund. Lucas, who had no idea he'd been pitching to one of my subsidiary investment firms last month. Lucas, who'd been rejected again. We're just trying to help, Olivia added. There's no shame in admitting something isn't working. Mackenzie would take you back in a heartbeat. Actually, Aunt Margaret chimed in. Susan's daughter just got promoted to partner there. Youngest female partner in their history. She paused meaningfully. That could have been you. I checked my watch. 7:43 p.m. The Forbes article would drop in 17 minutes. You haven't even told us what your company actually does, Mom complained. All this secrecy, these long hours, and what do you have to show for it? Dad stood, assuming his CEO stance, the same one he'd used for countless boardroom presentations. We're here to discuss your failing company and plan your next steps. No more avoiding the reality. Olivia's phone chimed. She glanced at it, then did a double take. Her perfectly maintained composure cracked. Oh my God, she whispered, then louder. Why is your face on Forbes 30 under 30 list? The room froze. Mom's wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. Lucas grabbed Olivia's phone. That's impossible. He scrolled frantically. This can't be. Victoria Lawson, 28, founder and CEO of Synapse Tech Solutions, valued at, this has to be a mistake. $2 billion, I supplied calmly. That's the current valuation after our last funding round, though that number's a bit outdated now. Dad sank back into his chair. $2 billion. Would you like to know what my company does now? I pulled out my tablet, opening our investor presentation. Synapse Tech Solutions develops AI-driven adaptive learning systems. We're revolutionizing how machines process and respond to complex data. That tiny apartment I live in. It's actually the smallest unit in a building I own. That old Toyota. I bought it because it's practical and reliable, like all good investments should be. Mom's wine glass trembled. But you never said anything. You never asked. You were too busy lamenting my failure to notice my success. I stood up, straightening my thrift store blazer. Our technology is being implemented by major tech companies worldwide. That's why I've been working such long hours. That's why I've been secretive. And that's why, in about 2 minutes, Forbes is running a feature article about how a 28-year-old woman built a multi-billion-dollar tech empire while her family thought she was failing. Olivia's phone kept buzzing, notifications pouring in as the article went live. Lucas looked like he'd swallowed something sour. Aunt Margaret was already dialing, probably calling Susan about her suddenly less impressive daughter. $2 billion, Dad repeated, shell-shocked. Actually, I checked my phone as Ethan's message came through. Make that $3 billion. We just closed another acquisition. I could tell you more, but I have a video interview with CNBC in an hour. They're doing a special on disruptive tech leaders. The silence was deafening. Then Mom spoke, her voice small. But why didn't you tell us? I looked around the room at their shocked faces, their shattered assumptions, and their crumbling certainty about who I was and what I could achieve. Because sometimes, I said, gathering my things, the best way to succeed is to let people underestimate you. It's amazing how much you can accomplish when no one's watching. My phone buzzed again. That's my car. Unlike my Toyota, this one's actually expensive. Comes with the whole Forbes photo shoot thing. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Olivia, that startup Lucas pitched last month, the one rejected by Lawson Ventures. That's my investment firm. Better luck next time. I left them there, surrounded by their luxury brands and conventional success. While outside, a sleek black car waited to take me to my next interview. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's letting them realize they never really knew you at all. And I was just getting started. The CNBC interview was just the beginning. By midnight, my phone had exploded with messages. Old classmates suddenly remembering our close friendship. Distant relatives claiming they always believed in me. And most tellingly, a series of increasingly desperate texts from my family. Mom, Victoria, please call us. We need to talk. Olivia. OMG, Vic. Why didn't you tell me? I'm your sister. Lucas. About that pitch. Perhaps we could discuss it over lunch. Dad. I don't understand. You had all this success and kept it secret from your own family. I ignored them all, focusing instead on the message from Ethan. Stocks are up 12% after the Forbes piece. Tokyo markets opening strong. Ready for tomorrow's board meeting. The next morning, I walked into Synapse Tech's headquarters, a sleek glass tower in the heart of downtown, my name discreetly etched on the cornerstone. The security guard nodded respectfully. "Good morning, Miss Lawson." My executive assistant, Lena, met me at the elevator. "Your family's been calling the office since 6 a.m. Your mother tried to charm her way past reception, but security followed protocol." I smiled. "Of course they did. Any other surprises?" "Your sister Olivia posted on LinkedIn about her brilliant tech entrepreneur sister and tagged you. PR wants to know how to handle it." No response necessary. Let her chase the connection. My office occupied the top floor, but I designed it to be invisible from the street. Privacy glass, minimal signage. The space inside was modern but understated. Clean lines, practical furniture, and walls covered in whiteboards filled with code and complex algorithms. The morning news played silently on multiple screens. Tech wonder Victoria Lawson disrupts AI market. Synapse Tech Solutions, the stealth giant that's revolutionizing machine learning. Young CEO built billion-dollar empire in secret. A knock at my door interrupted my news scanning. "Miss Lawson, your 9 a.m. is here." I turned, expecting my scheduled venture capital meeting. Instead, there stood Thomas, my ex-fiancé, the investment banker. My parents had never forgiven me for leaving. "Victoria," he said, attempting his old charming smile. "You look successful." "I look exactly the same as when you called my startup dreams cute and admirable." I stayed seated. "How did you get on my calendar?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Your mother might have mentioned you had offices here." I thought, given our history, I cut in. "You should remember that I don't appreciate people who underestimate me." "I never." "You said, and I quote, 'Tech is a man's world, darling. Stick to consulting, where they appreciate diversity hires.'" I pressed the intercom. "Lena, please escort Mr. Reynolds out and update security protocols." As he was led away, my actual 9 a.m. arrived. Rachel Kim, the notorious venture capitalist known for backing unicorn startups. "Entertaining morning?" she asked, nodding toward Thomas's retreating figure. "Just clearing out old misconceptions." I pulled up our presentation. "Shall we discuss the future instead of the past?" The meeting with Rachel went brilliantly, but it was just a warm-up for what came next. At noon, I had a board meeting, my first since the Forbes article dropped. The boardroom was full when I entered. Our investors, mostly older men who had initially doubted me, now sat up straighter when I walked in. Funny how a few $1 billion changes people's posture. "Before we begin," I said, taking my seat at the head of the table, "let's address the elephant in the room." Yes, the Forbes article was strategic. Yes, the timing was deliberate. And no, this doesn't change anything about how we operate. Ethan, my CFO, pulled up our quarterly numbers. The growth charts looked like mountain ranges. Steep, impressive, undeniable. "As you can see," I continued, "our decision to operate in stealth mode while building our technology base has paid off. We're not just ahead of the market. We are the market." One of our early investors, a man who'd once suggested I bring in a more experienced CEO, cleared his throat. "The numbers are impressive, but the publicity changes things. Your family..." "My family is irrelevant to this company's operations." I pulled up another slide. "What is relevant is our next move. Project Nexus." The room fell silent as I outlined our new AI architecture, technology that would make our current success look like a warm-up. Halfway through my presentation, Lena slipped me a note. "Your sister's in the lobby. Says she's not leaving until you talk to her." I kept presenting, but sent a quick message to security. 5 minutes later, Olivia was escorted to our smallest conference room, the one with the uncomfortable chairs. After the board meeting, I took my time reviewing contracts before finally heading down to meet her. She'd been waiting 2 hours. Her perfect blowout slightly wilted. Her Prada bag was clutched like a shield. "Really, Vic?" she burst out as I entered. You couldn't have security tell them who I am? Your own sister. They know exactly who you are. I sat down. That's why they followed protocol. She deflated slightly. Mom's crying, you know. Dad hasn't gone to work. They feel betrayed. Betrayed? I raised an eyebrow. By what? My success, my independence, or the fact that they can't take credit for it? It's not like that. We're family. We should have been part of this. Like you made me part of your life. All those family dinners where you and Lucas talked about your achievements. Those charity galas where Mom introduced you as my successful daughter and me as Victoria. She's finding herself. Olivia flinched. That's not fair. We didn't know. Because you never asked. You were too busy feeling superior to actually see what I was building. And now, she gestured around. Now that we know, can't we start over? Lucas would love to collaborate. Yes, Lucas. I pulled out my tablet, opening his pitch history. 3 failed startups, 2 SEC warnings for questionable trading practices, and a trust fund that's dwindling faster than his excuses. That Lucas. Her face reddened. How did you? I know everything about everyone who tries to do business with my company, including the fact that he's been bad-mouthing me to potential investors for 2 years. Amateur hour. I believe he called it. Olivia's designer bag slipped from her fingers. He wouldn't. The recordings are quite clear. I stood up. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a company to run. Wait. She grabbed my arm. What do you want? An apology. Fine. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. Just don't shut us out. I looked at her perfectly manicured hand on my blazer sleeve. The same blazer she'd mocked last night. I don't want anything from you, Olivia. That's the point. I built all of this without you, without our parents, and without anyone's approval or support. And that's exactly how I'll continue. But what about family? Family? I smiled sadly. Family would have believed in me even without the billions. Family would have asked about my dreams instead of dismissing them. Family would have seen me for who I am, not who they wanted me to be. Her hand fell away. And now, I checked my phone as another alert came in. I have a meeting with the governor about making our city the next major tech hub. Feel free to tell Mom and Dad. I'm sure they'll suddenly be very interested in my situation. As I walked out, leaving Olivia in that small conference room, Lena fell into step beside me. Your parents are holding another family meeting tonight, she said, checking her tablet. Your aunt's already called 3 reporters trying to claim she mentored you. I smiled. Let them meet. Let them talk. Success is the best revenge, but silence is the best response. The elevator doors opened to reveal Rachel Kim waiting with a group of international investors. Ready to change the world? She asked. I straightened my discount blazer, now knowing it would be featured in tomorrow's business pages as tech's new power look. Always, I replied. After all, the best innovations come from people everyone else overlooked. Behind me, I could hear Olivia's expensive heels clicking toward the exit, the sound echoing like all their years of judgment and dismissal. But I wasn't that overlooked little sister anymore. I was the future. And the future, like success, belongs to those who build it for themselves. 1 month after the Forbes article changed everything, I sat in my office reviewing the latest market reports. Synapse tech stock had doubled. Our AI technology was being called revolutionary by industry leaders. And my carefully maintained privacy had been replaced by constant public attention. Lena appeared in my doorway. Your father's downstairs. I didn't look up from my screen. The same answer as yesterday. He's different today. No Mercedes, no power suit. He's wearing jeans. That made me pause. Charles Lawson, CEO of Lawson Global Consulting, wearing jeans in public. He's been waiting in the lobby for 2 hours, Lena added. Just sitting there watching people work. I pulled up the lobby security feed. There he was, my father, looking smaller somehow in casual clothes, holding a worn leather briefcase I'd never seen before. Send him up. While waiting, I studied the collection of newspaper headlines framed on my wall. Synapse Tech announces breakthrough in quantum AI. Tech's newest billionaire CEO refuses family's attempts to take credit. Victoria Lawson. Success doesn't need permission. The last one was from an interview where I had finally addressed the family situation publicly. The reporter had asked why I kept my success secret from my family. My response went viral. Success doesn't need permission, validation, or family approval. It just needs vision and persistence. Dad entered quietly. So unlike his usual commanding presence. He took in my office slowly, the whiteboards covered in complex algorithms, the global market tickers, and the view of the city he thought he knew. Your mother keeps setting a place for you at dinner, he said finally. Every Thursday night, just in case. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. He sat, placing the old briefcase in his lap. I've been thinking, he continued, about your 5th grade science fair. Of all the things he could have said, this wasn't what I expected. You built a primitive neural network. Used it to predict weather patterns. Everyone else had volcanoes made of baking soda or plants growing toward light. You had algorithms. He smiled faintly. You won first place, but I missed it. Had a board meeting. I remember. You know what I don't remember? Ever asking you to explain how it worked or why you were interested in AI or what you dreamed of creating. He opened the briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers. So, I did some research. He spread them on my desk. Patents, academic papers, early business proposals, my work dating back years. You filed your first patent at 19, he said. Created your first AI protocol at 22, launched 3 successful startups under different names before Synapse Tech. All while we thought you were just. He trailed off. Finding myself, I supplied. Being difficult. He looked up, meeting my eyes. We were wrong. I was wrong. The silence stretched between us, heavy with years of missed connections. Did you know, he said finally, that your mother has started taking coding classes? Basic stuff, but she says she wants to understand what you built. Olivia's been reading about AI ethics. Even Lucas has been trying to pitch to my competitors. I interrupted, using his connection to me as leverage. Dad's face fell. I didn't know that. There's a lot you didn't know. Didn't ask. Didn't want to see. He nodded slowly. Your mother wants to host a family dinner to celebrate your success. Like the last family dinner? Were you all gathered to intervene in my situation?
No.
He pulled out one more paper from his briefcase.
Like this.
It was an old photograph. Me at that 5th grade science fair, standing proudly next to my neural network display, small, serious, and absolutely certain about my path. When did we stop seeing you? He asked quietly. When did we replace pride with judgment? I studied the photo, remembering that day, the excitement of creation, the joy of making something new, and the disappointment when my parents missed the ceremony. You know, I said, that project predicted weather patterns with 76% accuracy. Pretty impressive for a 5th grader. Want to know what Synapse Tech's current accuracy rate is? He looked up, interested despite himself. What is it? 99.997%. I turned my monitor around, showing him our latest test results. We're not just predicting weather anymore. We're modeling climate changes, market trends, and population movements. We're helping governments prepare for natural disasters before they happen. Helping businesses adapt to changes before they hit. Saving lives.
Dad,